You're listening to the world according to Mark, but as you can tell, this is not your regular host for the program, Mark Lieberman. Instead, I should tell you that Mark is out of town, and so this is Blaine Greenfield, host of another show here on WPVM on Wednesday mornings at 9 a.m., The Blaine's World Show. I'm pinch hitting for Mark this week. Toward that end, it's my pleasure to introduce my first two guests, and they are from one of my favorite groups in the Asheville area, Marilyn Hubbard, who is the Women's Song Assistant Director, and also Sarah Rubin, who's Women's Song New Start Committee member.
Actually, other way.
Okay, wait, let me get it right. Okay.
Sarah
is the Women's Song Assistant Director.
Yes.
Gotcha, sorry about that. And Marilyn Hubbard's the Women's Song New Start Committee member.
Yes.
Is that correct? Anyway, welcome aboard, guys.
Thank you.
Okay, and I should mention to you folks, or to our listening audience, and also our viewing audience, because I believe we're on Facebook Live, and as a result, you can wave to all your fans and friends at Facebook Live. Okay, they're all watching you. And, okay, I think I got it now. Sarah has sung a woman's song for 13 years, and has been assistant director for 9 of those years. Besides choral singing, she is a fiddler and plays with a local old-time band. Marilyn is also a longtime member of Women's Song. She led Women's Song's New Start Committee for 5 years and is currently a committee member. Her other musical interests include volunteering at Swananoa Gathering every summer. And the first question I ask folks is, in terms of singing, how do you get involved in it? Like, when did you start singing?
Well, I've been singing all my life and singing choral music much of my life. And I moved to Asheville in 2005 and was looking for a group to sing with. Went to a women's song concert, loved the feel of the group, loved the music, and I joined soon after that.
When you were a little kid growing up, did you love to sing?
Oh, yeah. I sang all the time. In fact, one of my aunts told my cousin, "Why can't you be like Sarah? She sings all the time. She's happy. She sings all the time." And my cousin resented me for years after that.
You know, that's a really interesting thing you just said there, and there might be some degree of truth in it, in that people sing, for the most part, I guess you can sing blues and stuff not happy, but a lot of people, when you sing, are you happy when you sing?
You know, singing makes me happy. I think that's why I'm happy, is because I sing, and I think that's one thing we all experience in Women's Song. Coming together every week and singing together makes us feel good.
And you have a good time?
Yeah.
And I'll ask Marilyn the same thing, too, that in terms of singing, when did you start singing?
Oh, I sang as a very small child. I remember with putting on vinyl records and singing to them. I was an only child, so this was part of my entertainment, was listening to music and singing.
Wait, and there was something called vinyl records?
Well, whatever was before. I'm sorry, it was probably well before vinyl. I'm 76, so it was probably well before vinyl, yeah.
But you remember, there are actually records you could put
yeah,
on?
Yeah, they were the old black records that you could put on.
Yeah, vinyl records, I guess. Now, so do you remember your first singing performance where other people came to see you?
Probably Sunday school choir.
Yeah, you know, because I always thought, wouldn't this be cool if somebody had videotaped that? You know, and they had you could see your first performance ever. You know,
That would probably be at about 5 or 6 years old.
well, you know,
yeah.
I'm thinking, wouldn't that be a great women's song theme? They always have a theme for, you know, concerts or of old music, that everybody would sing their first songs, you know, so you would sing your first song as a 5-year-old, and you would sing, that'd just be a real trip down memory lane or something. So you started as a 5-year-old. Did you sing in high school and throughout?
Oh, yes. Church choirs, high school choirs, college choir for a couple of years, then community choirs.
And have you sung all your life?
Oh, absolutely.
And the same comment, which is kind of an interesting one that Sarah had indicated, when you're singing, it puts you in a good mood?
Oh, yeah, and I'm sort of like Sarah. I sing around the house. I find myself singing or humming or something, and usually it's when I'm feeling really good.
Well, you know, I'll ask Sarah the question then, in terms of when people come to Women's Song, do you believe that everybody can sing? I'm always interested in getting answers to that question. You know, like some people can't sing.
Some people, I think it comes more easily to some people. I mean, one of my kids, when he was in his crib, you know, at age 1, he would stand up in the crib and sing, and you could tell what song he was singing. He just had an innate sense of pitch. And other kids, my other child, couldn't carry a tune when he was young, But I think everyone can learn to sing, and certainly everyone can, even if they're not singing on pitch, they can sing and express themselves. But we have members of Woman's Song. You don't have to read music to join Woman's Song. You just need to be able to match a pitch and carry a tune. And we have people who join Woman's Song who's never sung in a choir before, who do fine.
Story reminds me of me when I was a young kid. And I remember I was about maybe 6 or 7, and I said to my mother I wanted singing lessons for some reason. And so she took me to some lady with a piano, and she started playing the piano. And all I remember, Marilyn, is I never got singing lessons afterward, so I don't know what the lady told my mother. But fast forward almost 60 years, and I had to do an audition for something, and the lady said I could sing okay. I'm not a great singer. And that what the point I'm trying to make is it's a shame that some people are told they can't sing or discouraged from singing, rather than, like you said, with your son, just encourage it, let it happen. And isn't that a shame?
And we even have a few members in Woman's Song who were told as children to mouth the words in their school choral performances because the music teacher thought they couldn't carry a tune. And as adults, they've learned how to carry a tune and match pitch, and they're good singers now.
But isn't that a shame, even as you tell the story, that they lived all their lives having this conception, and boy, rather than encourage people to sing, just invite them to sing. Let me ask you another question I asked Marilyn off the air. But what about the idea of singing, having to memorize lots of songs? Because at a concert, you typically have, maybe 20 songs or something, 15, 20 songs? Is that a tough thing to memorize songs?
No, because if you do it enough times, it comes. And I think with songs, you have rhythm and you have rhyme, and that makes things easier to memorize too. But we have practice tapes for sections, so altos have their practice tapes, and the full tapes that we can practice with, and you just go over and over and over, and you learn it.
My all-time, perhaps, favorite song that I've heard at women's song concerts, what's the one with the altos battle the sopranos, or what's the name of that song?
Alto's Lament.
Oh, I love that song.
We only did that song once. I'm really impressed that you remember it.
Oh, it was the song though.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
It's such
Why
a fun.
do all the altos always
You
get
only-
the boring parts that stay on one
Right.
note?
You only did that song once?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, but it just was.
We'll do it again some year.
Okay, it was
sometime.
just such a fun song,
It is fun.
and the two of them are battling and whatever. How do you choose the songs for women's song concerts?
Well, it used to be when Debbie Nordine was our director, Althea and I were assistant directors, and we'd solicit suggestions from our members, and then we would get together and the directors would choose the repertoire. But now that Althea's director, we have a music selection committee that includes Lightingale, our accompanist, our 3-section leaders, and the chair of our music committee, and the directors. Again, we solicit suggestions from our members, and then committee gets together. We listen to all the songs that have been suggested. We do some additional research. We look at the scores and see, is this doable for us? And try and put together a repertoire for each concert that's going to be interesting, diverse styles and tempos, and we always have a theme for our concerts. So we try and pick songs that will fit that theme. So it's been a really fun process to do this with a group of people, because we get different perspectives and opinions, and it's brought to us some music that we wouldn't have chosen probably when with just the three of us making the decisions.
Well, again, one of the interesting things I find out about also is the fact that themes are always different, but they're always introducing me to music. Some I haven't heard, a lot of it I haven't heard before. But that's kind of a fun thing to hear music and just get introduced to it for the first time. Does that happen with you also? Do you get introduced to music you're not familiar with?
Absolutely. Like I was telling you earlier, especially the contemporary pop songs we do. I never listened to contemporary pop, and it's probably maybe embarrassing to say, but I never knew any Katy Perry songs until Woman Song did some Katy Perry. I never knew Meghan Trainor until we did All About That Bass.
Now, and
So-
it's funny, did it get you interested in those performers, or did you listen to other stuff by them?
Occasionally.
Yeah. Because now also, in addition to Woman Song, you also were telling me off the air you do some other singing as well now, and you've gotten into a whole country thing.
Yeah, I've gotten into the kind of classic country, Hank Williams, Patsy Cline era. I learned a lot of those songs, as well as I sing in an old-time band. I sing old-time and bluegrass, early country, Carter Family, that kind of
Do you
stuff.
enjoy doing that?
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
but-
And that's different, very different from singing in the choir, because all the harmonies are improvised, of course, when you're singing, traditional music. In Woman's Song, you got to learn your alto part, memorize it. Yeah. But when you're singing, traditional music, you're freer.
By the way,
to
I'll mention to you
improvise.
both, based on what you're saying, I'll mention a show they're doing at Parkway Playhouse. I forget the exact name of it, but it all plays Lunsford's music. I forget what's it.
Bascom Lamar Lunsford.
Yeah, and so it's a whole concert of his music. And if you get a chance, it's going to be at Parkway Playhouse for the next 2 weeks, and it's really old time. You love it. Try to get up there
Yeah.
if you can. Marilyn, same question I'll ask you. In terms of, aside from singing with Women's Song, do you do any other kind of singing? Or have you?
Well, other than chorals, basically choral singing, but in different places. We've lived in a number of different places, and I've usually found a choir of some sort to sing with.
Have you also sung, you mentioned earlier, but have you sung after your childhood with church groups as well?
Yes, yeah. Church groups and high school and grade school, high school, college.
Okay, so that keeps you pretty busy, keeping singing though, or just,
Well, it's good, and as I age, I'm 76. As I age, I think it's more and more important for me to be singing frequently, because that's what keeps my vocal cords alive. Some people, when they age, they become kind of creaky sounding and what have you. And I think that the singing is what your larynx is a muscle, and it needs to be exercised.
that's why I never thought of that, but I guess it makes some degree of sense, because it amazes me that some singers can sing in their, Tony Bennett, or other people, 80s, 90s, Leonard Cohen, it's just amazing. Well, he didn't, I wouldn't talk about his but I love Leonard Cohen, but when you say vocal cords, no, it's like,
Right. But there actually are groups called tremble clefs that sing for Parkinson patients. People who have Parkinson's lose their ability to speak well and what have you. And these tremble clef choirs have them singing, and it helps them breathe. It helps them strengthen their vocal cords, speak out.
Well, you mentioned that. I also think in terms of some YouTube clips I've seen, you probably have too, where music can also bring people, I want to say back from wherever they were, but people who've had Alzheimer's listen to music, and all of a sudden they're back to, it's just amazing that music can do that for people.
I played the piano and sang a couple of times a month in our skilled care at Deerfield Retirement Community, and I have a group of friends who come with me from independent living, and we see people who are almost comatose in wheelchairs, not communicative, and they know the words to the song, and as soon as we start singing, their mouths are moving and they're singing along with us. So
Do me a favor, if you can, remind me or send me an email that I'm active in a group called the Dementia Society of America, and we have programs where we, there are grants actually to give to the programs to encourage people to perform at those kind of units, because we found that music can really help people bring a spark out with them too. So I guess your goal is to keep singing until you can't keep singing.
I'm going to keep singing until I feel like I'm singing for all the old people. I have a friend whose mother is 98 or 99, something like that, in another retirement home, and she plays the piano for all the old folks.
For all the old folks, I love it. Well, talk about that too. I should ask both of you in terms of your families, how do they respond to your singing?
Oh, my husband's number two groupie. He's the, he can't be number one because the husband of Susie St. Clair, who's been with the group for the 30-plus years, he gets to be number one, but my husband's number two.
that he supports and it comes to
Absolutely.
all the programs?
Absolutely.
How about outside of the concert? So does he enjoy listening to you?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Do you sing in the car?
Sometimes.
Does he join you?
Does he what?
Does he join you?
No, because he was one of the ones whose teacher told him to just mouth the
Really?
words. But he's a great audience member. And this I think people need to realize. They may be told that they can't sing, but they can be really wonderful audiences.
I have to ask you a question about audiences and how you feel about it. That some of the times you'll do a song where you encourage the audience to, get involved or clap or participate. Does that bother you when people are singing?
Oh, well, people will say, we always say our audiences will laugh, they'll cry, they'll cheer, they'll clap. They may even dance in the aisles, and we've had that happen at concerts. So, we love it when people join in with
Yeah,
us.
we encourage that. We always plan, we make sure we've got, a number of songs in each program that will be familiar or easy to pick up so people can sing along.
And that's a fun thing to do,
Yeah.
that you want to sing along or clap along. But I asked the question, though, Sarah, because it reminds me, years ago, I went to a concert, a show with my brother, and it was Jacques Brel's music, which I'm a big Jacques Brel fan. But he was singing along and really loud, and his wife kept, you go to hear the concert, you don't necessarily hear the people in the audience. I guess that's why you have mics up front, or do you have mics?
Well, there are 50 or more of us singing, so people can hear us even when they're singing along. Yeah, it's not a problem.
But because I've never heard one of the directors say don't sing along or tell people not to sing, so that's not really a problem.
Not a problem.
Same question I asked though about your family. Do they encourage and like your singing?
Well, my husband is a musician, and we do music together, but he's not a big fan of choral music. And he comes to Women's Song concerts once a year when I give him a ticket and say, come. But he's not one of we have a number of husbands and partners who are big fans, like Marilyn's husband. Mine is not one of those.
Yeah, but at least he'll come and support it.
Yeah.
Same question. Do you guys ever sing in the car?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, do you
Yeah, we
really?
sing together a lot.
Okay, sing in the shower? Do you ever sing?
Oh,
in the-
yeah.
Okay, that's a real singing person.
Yeah.
Talk to me a little bit for the benefit of our listeners who don't know what Women's Song is. What is Women's Song?
We are a community chorus, 75 women, all ages. We encourage diversity in our group. We've been singing in Asheville for 32 years now, and we rehearse once a week, do a couple of concerts a year, and we call ourselves a village. We support, we're a mutually supportive community. We support our members through life transitions, through hard times, through celebrations. It's really a wonderful group, and we encourage creativity and stretching your musical abilities. We always have a number of solo opportunities in our concerts, and we have some soloists who've never done a solo before each time, who are really putting themselves out there and taking a risk and growing.
I also get a kick out of the fact that you also have dancing opportunities for people. So sometimes I'll get a kick out of seeing a friend. All of a sudden they'll be on front doing a little number.
We have dancing. We have a world-renowned puppeteer in our group, Lisa Stirs, who often contributes puppets, and there's actually going to be a puppet surprise at this upcoming concert.
Okay, something to look forward to. The other thing you talking about, the village, I was always impressed. I went not too long ago to a funeral of one of your members. Her mother had passed, and it's very sweet to have several members of Women's Song there. Mm-hmm. And I guess that's part of the whole process, that people change and different things happen. And I guess kind of a sad thing, but a beautiful thing is when you have to sing at a other member's funeral or a member of their family or something. But that happens, right? Is that something you tend to do?
Oh, absolutely. And we've even sung around the bedsides of people who are dying, husbands of members of the community, of the Women's Song community. And so one sweet story is we were singing around the bedside of one of the husbands who was dying, and he was lying there with his eyes closed, and all of a sudden we sang his favorite Beatles song, and he opened his eyes really wide, and he gave a great big smile. And it's very meaningful to be able to do this.
And we've sung at members' weddings. We had a couple of members before gay marriage was legal nationally, a couple of members who went out of state to get married and then came back to Asheville and had a celebration, and we sang at those weddings.
Now, the question I should ask, and I can just see Marilyn's going to come up with the answer to this question, but I should ask, have you sung any divorces yet? Or
Not yet.
no, but it reminds me, the reason I mentioned you, Marilyn, it reminds me you telling me about your husband before, and this seems like something he would get into, coming up with creative ways for women's song to perform and
Well,
give.
we just would rather sing at marriages than divorces. Though.
But a sweet thing, have you sung at birthdays also?
Yeah, birthday parties, absolutely. Yeah.
Great. And nice thing, so, and when you've done that too, you're mentioning that members' bedside, you don't have to have how many women are in women's song?
We cap our membership at 75. We currently have some openings. I think we have about 65 members currently.
Okay, now let's talk about the open process, so that if any of our listeners would want to check out women's song, for example, first of all, we might as well mention the upcoming concert. I'll show it. People can see it. I'll try to show it up close. But you do have an upcoming concert coming up in a couple of weeks. And what's that concert about?
It's called Room at the Table, and the theme is welcoming everyone into the community, being inclusive, supporting human rights. As all our concerts, it's a mix of serious songs, fun songs. We're featuring a couple of songs by local songwriters. One song by Sue Ford, who many of your listeners may know. She used to be an assistant director of our group, and she now teaches music at Rainbow Community School. We're doing a really fun song that she wrote several years ago. And then a very serious song by Lightingale, our accompanist, that was inspired by the Me Too movement. That's very empowering. When you speak your truth, you will be free. We're going to support each other in telling our truth. It's probably the most intense and moving song in the program for me.
Even as you describe it, I'm almost getting a chill just listening to it, and I can see it. Mm-hmm. And one of the things also I've always enjoyed at the concerts is that oftentimes there will be original work by some of the people within the group. Very exciting, and some of it's amazingly good. Is that something you encourage too, if somebody writes their own song?
Yeah, we definitely encourage, and we have 2 or 3 members who have written songs, and we've featured their songs.
Have you ever written a song?
I never have.
Never? Or have you ever?
Yeah, I have. In fact, Woman's Song did one of my songs. Golly, must be 8 or 9 years ago. It was quite a thrill.
Because I'll give, we're goofing on your husband, Marilyn, but I'll give you a challenge here that I could just see it. You were telling me off the air, and we'll just mention a couple of them because I thought they were funny, but your husband is kind of a big fan of women's song. Yeah. But he's also kind of a creative guy, and he constantly has his own, he sets up his own, if not businesses, business cards, would-be businesses.
Yes.
And I'm coming up with an idea, and I'll ask you to put you on the spot to mention 1 or 2 if you want. And your husband's name is what?
Bill Hubbard.
Okay, so Bill, if you're listening, you're going to get a shout-out here. But Marilyn was very proudly, and I'm sorry you don't have the business cards with you, but you're just telling me one of his hobbies, I guess, is to develop business cards?
Yeah, instead, we needed business cards when we retired, and he needed something funny. And he has Bill Bob's Sausage and Taxidermy Shop, where you could have your possum and eat it too. Or Bill Bob's Home of Reluctant Rest and Retirement in Libido Falls, North Carolina.
And he actually prints these cards out?
Oh, yeah.
But I'm giving you an idea for a woman's song. Wouldn't that be a fun song to write, about my husband, the entrepreneur, my husband, and but put those words, put those titles to music. It'd be so fun, just to talk about all the business he's set up, upon retirement. My husband's set up all these other, think about that, you just see, like what's the famous song where somebody goes through 300 cities or something in the United States?
Oh, yeah.
I could just see this as a fun
I've been everywhere.
Everywhere.
Yeah.
One of my favorite songs. Have you ever done that?
Too many words to memorize.
Wouldn't that be? Oh, my goodness.
I love the song. We should be sure and talk about our New Start program,
Okay, why don't we, so let's
which
talk,
is one of the unique things about Woman Song.
again, one of the things I love about Women's Song, so every time you go to Women's Song, you're not only supporting this marvelous chorus, but you're also supporting the community. How so?
Well, I'll talk about that since I'm on the program, New Start Program Committee. But starting at the very beginning, when Linda Metzner was our first director, she thought it would be good to use some of the proceeds from the little concerts that they had. They started in someone's home. Little grants of maybe $50, $75 from the programs. I'm very proud to say that in the last 10 years, now let me get my figures here. In the last 10 years, we have given over almost $200,000 in grants and scholarships to women in this community. We've given this year $18,000 in scholarships to AB Tech, Haywood Community College, and to Blue Ridge Community College. And so far this year, we've given about $5,500 in grants to women who are making new beginnings. They have to be referred to us by social service agencies. And the money goes to women. And for the scholarships, we ask that they be non-traditional women, 25 years of age or older. And the colleges themselves will pick out those. We have a committee that reads the grant requests and decides how much we can give. We can give grants of up to $600. I know of no other chorus that really has the commitment that we do. And I think that started at the very beginning, but we really became successful when we became a 501c3. And because it's volunteer, all 100% of the money that's designated for the New Start program goes out to women.
And one of the things, Marilyn, that I particularly enjoy when I see a concert is you'll mention the program, but several times I've actually heard people who have benefited from the scholarships
Right.
speak. And boy, it just gives you the feeling. I'm just getting goosebumps talking about it.
Yeah.
Because, rather than just giving money and stories work, you hear stories of these women, and they really are very inspiring.
It makes a difference. Could I
Please,
share a couple? We have a woman who wrote from the women's prison facility in Swannanoa. And one of our things that we do is help with GED testing, give money for GED testing. And she wrote, "Today I walk a little taller. Today I feel accomplished. Today I graduated with my GED. It gives me a sense of pride, and now I have a chance to be somebody." This is from the women's prison. We have another one whose husband left her during a high-risk pregnancy. And she wrote, "You have literally saved our lives as we are on the brink of and in the midst of a crisis too great for me alone." We work with Helpmate, we work with Homeward Bound, we work with Our Voice, we work with ABCCM, Mary Benson House, Community Action Opportunities. Many different social service agencies will send requests to us. And we cannot take a request straight from a woman. They must be through a social service agency because we want to make sure that this money is something that will help them on their way, but they're already receiving help and they will continue to receive help afterwards. We don't want it to just end with the grant.
And as you mentioned the stories, again, maybe it's just me, but I get a chill just listening to them. I don't know if you are, but just, it's very inspiring.
It is. And when we read these requests, it's just amazing what some people have to go through and how hard they work to change their lives and to be able to be part of that change is really important. And as I say, I don't think that, I know that there are other choruses that will give some of the proceeds from their concerts, or we'll help out here and there. But this is a real commitment that we have made, and we take it very, very seriously.
Sarah, if anybody wants to get more information either about the upcoming concert on May 17th and May 18th, or also check out Women's Song, or even possibly volunteer to join or become a member. And again, they can sing, they can also behind the scenes. You need help as well. Best bet is to go to the website, I guess. And what's that website?
It's womansong.org.
Okay.
And we also have a Facebook page, Women's Song of Asheville, on Facebook.
Okay, and again, I'd like to thank Sarah Rubin and Marilyn Hubbard, representatives of Women's Song, for being my guests, or being the guests of the first half hour on The World According to Mark. And Mark's not here this week, but you have Blaine Greenfield instead. And as you folks work your way out, we'll kind of play musical chairs and bring in our second guest. Thanks a lot.
Thanks.
Thank you so
Pleasure.
much for having us.
We never even got to the CD. We'd have another half an hour just play some of the music, but come to the concert. You're going to love it. Thanks, guys.
Thank you so much.
Okay, that was great. And as these two folks are working their way out, I'd like to mention that underwriter support for WPVM is made possible by Goodwill on Western of North Carolina. Goodwill creates opportunities for people to enhance their lives through training, workforce development, services, and collaboration with community organizations. More information on the web at Goodwill of Western North Carolina. And as our second guest works her way into the studio, I should remind folks that you're listening to the show. It's The World According to Mark. It's heard every Tuesday morning here at 9 a.m. on WPVM. And Mark is not with us this week, so I'm pinch hitting for him. And my name is Blaine Greenfield. And as we do that, it's my pleasure to introduce our second guest to the show this week. And she is Dr. Ashley Lucas. And I'll say hello, Dr. Ashley
Hi.
Lucas. Hi, Anna. We've spoken on the phone a bunch
We
of times,
have.
but never met in person. And I should mention, too, that Dr. Lucas, you're also, if it's working, I believe it is, you're on Facebook Live, so you can wave to all your friends
Oh.
and friends at Facebook Liveville.
Hi.
And Dr. Lewis is the owner-founder of PhD Weight Loss. And she's is a registered dietitian. She also has a doctor in the field. And she received her PhD in nutrition and sport and disease from Virginia Tech. Her area of expertise lies in weight management, sports nutrition, and postoperative nutrition through a scientific approach that focuses not only on the metabolic consequences of fat gain, but also on the behavioral and psychological aspects. She created the PhD method to achieving optimal weight, which is helping people across the country achieve their peak wellness once and for all. And her protocol is being implemented not only in Asheville here, but in also Colorado, New Mexico, Florida, at PhD weight loss clinics. And the first question I ask, and what would you like me to call you, Dr. Lucas?
Ashley is fine.
I can call you
Yeah, thank
Ashley.
you.
Okay, thank you, Ashley. You call me Blaine.
Okay.
And I should mention, I mentioned before, that I host a show here on Wednesday mornings at 9 a.m., but we want to get you on board here, so you're now on The World According to Mark. And the question I ask everybody, Ashley, is that when you were a little girl growing up, and where'd you grow up?
Washington State.
Okay, Washington State. Were you always interested in the field of nutrition?
You know, I was interested in ballet. So I grew up training during my adolescence in classical ballet. And I went to boarding school for it, actually, and my undergraduate degree is in ballet performance. And I danced professionally for a while with a few different companies and found myself with the Richmond Ballet and just injured all the time and found that I had to retire from that career. And it was my identity. I didn't quite know what to do. And so I understood how important nutrition was on my sport performance as a dancer. And so went into the field of nutrition.
And that was at what age?
About 25.
Okay, so you had never studied it before?
Not much, a little bit during my undergrad, but, you know.
And so all of a sudden at age 25, you find yourself not dancing, and you find yourself kind of interested in this field of nutrition.
Yes.
What do you do with that interest? How do you go beyond that?
Well, we moved up to Blacksburg, Virginia. My husband went to medical school, and I knew that I wasn't into Seeing sick people get sicker, and I don't do well with that. And so I just thought the field of nutrition would be a bit preventative. And so went and pursued my master's first in nutrition and decided that I wanted to do more, so fast-tracked into my PhD. And then from there, I understood that I really liked seeing dramatic change in people, and I wanted to work one-on-one with folks. So I went back to school again at the Ohio State University and completed my dietetic internship.
Now, back to when you were a kid growing up in Washington State, I'm just guessing, especially being in ballet, you weren't a junk food addict at the time?
I liked sugar.
Do you still like sugar?
If I eat it a lot, then I do crave it. I guess I would go more toward the sweets than the savory.
Because I want to talk to you about that, too. In some of the work you do you work with sugar addicts?
Yes, of course.
So I've talked to you about that.
Yeah.
That certain person I know who happens to be my wife is kind of a carb addict or sugar addict.
Yes.
And I guess that's part of the work you do, working with these folks as well?
Definitely. Well, what we do is we create a metabolic shift in the body so that the body learns how to burn fat for fuel. And when we do that, we are able to reduce or pretty much eliminate the cravings and the hunger that are usually associated with the other type of metabolism.
And that can be done?
Yes, for sure.
We
See it every day.
Really? Which
Yes.
is probably exciting.
It is exciting.
Talk a little bit about then this whole concept of, I guess you're working with people with, I guess, all sorts of weight issues.
Yes.
That not just folks who are heavy, but do you work with any anorexic folks, or have you worked with anorexic?
We do. We work with eating disorders of binge eating or food addiction or anorexia. We do that as well. We can work with individuals who are trying to avoid gastric bypass surgery to someone who wants to enhance their performance on the bike. My PhD is actually in sports nutrition and chronic disease, and so the basis of the PhD approach I developed when working with athletes during my doctoral work. So I found what had this huge impact on athletes and helping them maintain body composition while improving their performance had a profound impact on those of us struggling with excess body fat. And so, yes, we work with all types of folks.
Now, talk a little bit about what you call, and I want to know more about it, you call it the PhD approach. And I guess I haven't heard of that per se, except when you told me briefly
Sure.
about it. What is it?
That's a great question. So what we want to do is we want to allow the body to tap into the stored fat and actually work the way that it's supposed to. So we don't do any kind of drops or shots or supplements. We don't do severe caloric restriction or depend upon chronic exercise, but we manipulate how you eat so the body can access the freezer stores, so to speak, of the fat that's on the body. And it's a really unique approach. It's not necessarily keto or Atkins or paleo. It's going to be shifting the way that each person eats, which is unique to them, so they can access this fat on the body. And nearly every cell prefers to burn fat for fuel, but the way that we're told to eat and the way that we generally eat in society, we're not able to do that.
So why do you call it the PhD approach?
Because I developed it and we're PhD weight loss and nutrition.
Okay, good reason. But does that acronym stand for anything?
PhD, yes, it stands for Performance Health Diet.
Which I love, kind of thing. So it's not just for the weight overall, but it's your overall, I guess, well-being.
Yeah, we have two primary goals. First is increasing energy, because I think that's what life is about, is having the energy to live the most extraordinary life. And if we're not feeling good and we have no energy, we're not sleeping, then what's the point? And then our second goal is to reduce inflammation, because we know that all disease stems from having high inflammatory rates. And weight loss just happens to be the byproduct of that. We also help folks who don't necessarily need to drop a ton of weight, but are just looking to enhance energy and performance.
And so when you get them in a program, you can help them do this, or how do you help
Yes.
them?
Thousands of people, yes.
Oh, is that cool? Talk about what happens. So if somebody contacts you, and we'll give contact information at the end, but they contact, again, the PhD center?
Yes.
And you're now in Asheville.
We are.
Yeah. which is exciting because when we first spoke, you weren't in Asheville.
That's right.
Where were you?
Durango, Colorado.
Durango, Colorado. So now you're out in Asheville and you have an office?
Yes, we do.
And so what happens? Describe what happens if somebody contacts you.
Sure. The first step is coming in for an initial consultation. And what we do during that appointment is we first assess body composition. We have a really fancy high-tech scale that measures what your body is made up of. We don't care about the weight number. We care what it's composed of. So we assess body fat percentage, how much muscle you have. The deep belly fat, we put a lot of emphasis on that visceral fat. And then we look at metabolic age, how you're functioning metabolically. And from that, we can see where you are and where you need to be your healthiest. And so that kind of dictates how long the program would be. So we'll talk about your health, where your health needs to be, and then what changes we need to do to customize the program to fit each individual.
You mentioned an interesting point I think a lot of people get hung up on. Being the scale is not necessarily the Bible as to what you should be doing. I guess my criteria, it's a very simple test, and I'm failing it right now, but it's a test of just put on your clothes, and if you can't wear something you wore last year, it says something, I guess, about your eating habits or your weight, I guess.
Sure.
Or my theory, I never shared it with you, but I have the theory that it's all has to do with the lousy quality of American manufacturing, because I don't know if you have this, but I'll buy something, and like a week later or 2 weeks later, it shrinks, and I don't understand. I don't get it, it didn't send it out for dry cleaning or anything or wash it, but just it doesn't fit. So I guess that's a good way for a lot of people to know if they need your services or it might be
Yes, but even lean people have this deep visceral fat. So I think that it would be great for all of us to know where our fat is settling. And even if we're lean or our weight or our BMI, which only is a height to weight ratio, looks okay, it doesn't necessarily mean that we don't have that deep, scary belly fat.
Well, even the BMI now is, I won't say controversial, but it's not looked upon the same way it was years ago.
Right.
That was the Bible.
It doesn't mean anything.
Right. How come?
Well, because it only looks, again, at your height and weight ratio. So you could be 200 pounds all muscle, and you could also be 200 pounds and primarily, have a lot of 50% body fat. So the total weight doesn't mean much at all. What matters is what is composed of in that total weight.
Now, how about you were mentioning also how you feel and the performance, all that stuff. How important is exercise into the whole process?
Exercise, when you really dive into the literature, it's important as a wellness tool. It helps to improve your mood and your sleep and reduce stress, prevent falls, but it really doesn't have much impact on weight loss whatsoever. So we view exercise as a wellness tool, but not a weight loss tool. Did you know you'd have to run 350 miles, or you'd have to cycle 1,000 miles to burn off 10 pounds of fat? The last thing that we want to be doing is running with all of this fat mass on our body and the force going through the joints. For every pound of fat we carry on the body, it's 8 pounds of force going through the foot and the ankle. And my husband is actually a foot and ankle orthopedic surgeon, and he sees, especially in Asheville, lots of people exercising to try to drop or maintain a leaner weight. And it's all this force going through the small bones of the feet, and he sees one injury after another when exercise really isn't the answer for weight loss.
I guess it becomes a factor, though, for health, though, in general.
Sure,
and
definitely.
or something.
I would say for as a wellness tool, mood, stress, sleep, heart health for sure, strength, but not from a weight loss perspective.
Talk about the role of genetics into this whole process. In other words, can I blame I always like blaming everything on my parents, but is that a valid excuse people can say?
It's a huge deal.
But how do you deal with it, though?
Well, there's a way that you can fight it, and you have to eat in a different fashion. So if you eat like the naturally lean individual, you're going to put on fat mass if you have this unique metabolism. So fat gain has nothing to do with willpower. It's not about eating stuff in moderation or eating a balanced diet necessarily, because each situation, each individual is so unique. So what we have to do is we have to find the way that works for each person so that the hunger and the cravings subside. So fat gain is not your fault. It's not a flaw in personality. It's all hormonally driven and genetically driven.
And so what worked, I guess what I hear you saying is what worked necessarily for my parents or grandparents might not necessarily work for me. Or,
No.
or everybody's, I guess the point, everybody's a little bit different.
Yes.
So I come in, make an appointment, what then happens?
You make your appointment. We have our initial consultation where we talk about the body composition, where you are right now and where you need to be. And then I go through how our program works. And then we dictate or we determine the length of the weekly weight loss phase, so to speak. And I can tell you what that looks like, or what do you think?
Well,
Would you be interested in that?
you'd be saying to the person in terms of, but some of the people you're saying aren't necessarily interested in the weight loss.
Right.
For example, personally, I might be more interested in the body or
Yeah, if that was the case, then what I do is I write a customized meal plan for that individual. I spend a few hours on that. And we would meet the following week, and I would teach the individual how to implement the meal plan that's specific to their preferences and lifestyle. And then we have a few follow-ups in that kind of package to ensure that my meal plan didn't just go into the drawer in the kitchen.
And the nice thing working with you, it sounds like, is there's no packaged, I don't have to get 17 meals a week in terms of working with you, or can only do certain kinds of things, that it's individual to how I want to do it.
Yes, and we do every week our clients come in to see us and we assess their body composition. They sit with a health coach and we talk a lot about nutrition, but not on this calories in, calories out perspective, because the body is much more complicated than that. It's not about starving ourselves or even eating less and moving more. It's complicated. And so again, we create this metabolic shift in the body. We go through exactly what you should be eating, so it's very simple and reliable. Most of our men let go about 3 to 3.5 pounds a week on average, and most of our women about 2 to 2.5 pounds.
How about in terms of measurements with respect to waist or to body composition?
We find that we don't have to do the waist circumference because our scale measures how much deep visceral fat we have. And so from that body composition analysis, we're able to dictate how the stomach is shrinking.
If somebody joins the program, can they still eat at restaurants?
Of course. We actually have a dining out guide where we instruct people on what to order and how to do that. We really hold their hands as they're going through this process because it can be scary, and many people have tried all of these other different programs and have failed. And so we provide hope and a different method of going about weight loss in a very successful way.
And so what makes it different?
Well, again, like I mentioned, we don't add anything to the body. We don't do shots or drops or supplements. We just allow the body to work the way that it's supposed to. We don't restrict calories and just watch portions or count points. We don't count anything. We also focus a ton on the mind. So this is a huge life change, and you've got to be 100% committed to it. And I find that about 80% of the journey comes from the mind. So we focus on the mental, emotional, the habits and behaviors, and make sure that we change all of that aspect to support what we're doing metabolically. We also look at the visceral fat like this active tissue. Did you know that the fat cells in the belly actually secrete hormones?
Nope, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So what happens is we have these triggers in our life, and they change the way that we tolerate our food. So for women, a common trigger might be pregnancy or menopause. For men, it's general aging or a major stress event. And somehow the body just shifts, and we start to accumulate this deep visceral belly fat. And that stuff isn't the stuff that you can sculpt off or freeze off or melt or laser or do anything. It's the stuff that's deep down in the organs. So, for example, if we took a slice of your liver, if you're carrying this belly fat, it'd look like a Kobe beefsteak. You know, that fat that's in there and tight around the outside. That's the stuff I'm talking about. And that's why if we go about weight loss in these different methods, it doesn't touch that deep belly fat. And this stuff grows its own blood vessels. And once it does, it starts to secrete hormones. So this visceral fat is almost like a tumor in there.
I would think just showing somebody a picture of this, or I don't know
We
if you
do.
Boy, but it's almost like getting people to stop smoking. Just show a picture of the lung. This is your lung. So this is you before the PhD approach, and then this after. You can make a difference. How about an age range on this? Is this for any age? Or
Yes.
What's the youngest? I guess the oldest you've worked with people.
You know, the youngest probably 5 years old, and the oldest 82, I think, is our oldest client. But we have a large range. We're actually putting together a free program for kids, and we hope to have that up and running sometime this summer.
Well, I would think that'd be. We'll get you on again on
Yeah.
another show, because that would seem to be a winner, or for tying to the school systems.
That's right.
That people are worried about childhood obesity.
Well, that's where it all starts.
Yeah. Well, talking about somebody who's not a child though, somebody in say in the 70s or 80s even, you can shift even at that point in time.
Of course.
Yeah, even if they've always done it this way.
Yes.
And so, I mean, must be a kind of exciting thing for you to see when somebody makes the shift.
Oh, it's amazing.
I guess you also see too when somebody starts working with you, you can, I guess, determine very quickly whether they're serious about it or not.
Yeah, that's right.
And you were mentioning that some people just aren't serious about it?
No, they have to want it for themselves. And we always ask and put a lot of emphasis actually in our initial consultation as to what their level of commitment is. And if their commitment isn't at a 10 on a scale of 1 to 10, then they're not quite ready to change their life.
Interesting to ask them that.
Oh, yes.
And what about the other thing I guess you probably get too, is that they come to see you because their wife, spouse, significant other, mother, father wants them, and that's not going to work either.
No. And to fit in clothes or to feel that we look better isn't a deep enough reason to make this life change. You have to be at this tipping point where you feel terrible or you've had a health scare. There's something in there where you say, gosh darn it, I am done. I am making a change in my life, and I don't care what it takes. I'm just doing it.
And that's probably exciting again for you too when people come in there and are at that level right then.
It is.
And they say they want it. And I guess that they're not. How do you get to that level? Or you have to have something bad happen to you, or
I mean, it's different for each person. Some people, it is a heart attack or something major. For others, it's seeing that their blood sugar levels are reaching into the pre-diabetic or type 2 diabetic levels, and we are able to reverse type 2 diabetes all the time. I'd say that 1 out of 10 people are left still taking medications if they're a type 2 diabetic at the end, but 90%, 95% of people were able to reverse that within about 6 to 12 weeks, which is unbelievable. You know, I had a client who had PCOS, which is polycystic ovarian syndrome, and that has a metabolism similar to type 2 diabetes, and she actually had type 2 diabetes and on insulin for 31 years, and after 10 weeks no longer on insulin. I mean, unbelievable, right?
How cool is that?
It is.
Or like, the guy who does the hair loss commercials, she'd be your best spokesperson.
I know,
I would think
yes.
anybody would want to listen to her. Mm-hmm. If people, you work with everyday folks, you also work with athletes, you mentioned. Mm-hmm. What kind of work do you do with athletes?
Well, for the athlete who is interested in improving their performance, say being able to run or ride at higher intensity for longer duration, by creating this metabolic shift, we depend less upon carbohydrates that can cause a lot of GI discomfort. So for the athlete who's struggling with that, also as a byproduct of carbohydrate metabolism, we produce quite a few free radicals, and free radicals are linked to inflammation. So we're able to significantly reduce inflammation in the athletes as well.
So have you actually worked with athletes? You mentioned before, you call it peak performance or get performance.
Right.
Have you seen shifts in athletes' performance?
Oh, yes, significant.
For example?
Well, cyclists, in Durango, we have a big ride called the Iron Horse, and it's 50 miles from Durango to Silverton. And we work with those type of cyclists, and they're able to increase their speed, so I guess decrease their time of completion on that ride. We also work with weightlifters, Olympic level, swimmers, skiers, runners.
So it's pretty cool. I could sign up for the program. And I could enter that 50-mile.
There you go.
I've never ridden a bike in my life, but I could do this now just for taking this PhD approach. But it's kind of neat. So you work with different folks. I can see some real value with school systems, not only in terms of young
Yep.
kids, but can you imagine, and I imagine you're trying to get into that too, working with some of the athletic teams and to be that's kind of interesting. Pro sports now, for the first time, have nutritionists
They do.
on staff, or most of them do.
Yes.
And athletes have to realize this at a professional level, that what you eat is going to affect your performance.
Yeah, and I think that you see the top athletes in the world definitely look at how they fuel their body. It's a huge deal. There's no way that you can perform your best if you're not fueling your body to support that.
Can fueling your body properly, aside from, you mentioned the diabetes, help you in other aspects of your health?
Every aspect.
Give me an example.
Mood, anxiety, depression, a huge deal. And we changing the way that we eat and the way that our body is running can have a huge impact on that. So it extends far beyond just weight loss and performance. Headaches, migraines, sleep. Sleep is a huge deal. For actually 4 of our current clients here in our Asheville clinic have not been able to sleep prior to beginning their program, and after about a week we're seeing improvements, either longer duration or deeper, more restorative sleep.
Have you had folks tell you that they've noticed themselves changes in moods and behaviors?
Yes, definitely.
And I imagine the spouse and significant others kind of like seeing that as well.
They do. And we always support our couples, partners doing this together, because it's hugely helpful. But even if only one partner or spouse is doing the program, the other one benefits significantly as well.
That's interesting. So you've had actually couples go through the program at the
Oh,
same
yes.
time?
Very common.
Which is pretty cool. You mentioned also, or we were talking earlier, about sugar addiction.
Yes.
How prevalent is that?
80% of our folks who I see are addicted to sugar, and it's not them being addicted, it's this fat mass. This fat mass has demands and urges, desires and cravings. So again, it's not them who craves these foods, it's this hungry, active fat mass in there.
And same thing to carbs, it's the same kind of thing, that people have cravings of carbs.
Yes, that's true.
And how do you get rid of that?
Well, we get rid of that by shifting, again, I know I keep saying the same thing, but shifting the way that we eat. And then we also focus on the habit and behavior. We have audio sessions that put individuals into deep relaxation to retrain the way we think and feel about food. And then maintenance with us is the second phase of our program, and it's free and it's forever. So we understand that the key to all of this is making sure that it's something sustainable. And so we never abandon our clients. We're always by their side for the long term.
You mentioned something interesting, I think, also with respect to schools. And as you're talking about this stuff, I'm saying to myself, I never learned this. Nobody ever taught me this. We learn a lot of stuff in school. We learn U.S. history, the presidents, 47 times. But nobody taught me how to eat or what should go in my body. Or
That's right.
I wouldn't think that would be kind of a crucial thing for people to learn.
Yes.
And so I guess it's never too late to learn this stuff.
It's not. And everything that we've been educated on is we're finding not correct. So not only have we not really learned what we need to know, but the information we have been provided isn't accurate. So we're in quite a state for our health, and it's pretty scary.
And you mentioned in conclusion the fact that things we learn are wrong, and it reminds me that I'm still angry with my parents, my mother, who made me eat margarine as a kid.
That's right.
What a shift! It was butter, then margarine,
I
now back
know.
to butter. And it's always changing, I guess.
It is, and the literature, the research behind nutrition is so poor.
Well, that's something else you can do in your spare time.
Yeah,
Do some
I think
research
so.
on this. If folks want to find out more about your center, best bet is to do what?
Well, we have our website at myphdweightloss.com, and we have nearly, actually, I think over 100 reviews on the website that people should look at. And then also our phone number for this location is 552 3333.
Okay, real quickly, I'll have you repeat that.
552-3333.
Okay, I'd like to thank you, Dr. Ashley Lucas, for being my guest. The
Thank
second
you.
half hour on the World According to Mark show that will be back next Tuesday morning at 9 o'clock. I'd also like to thank my guests the first half hour, Cheryl Rubin and Marilyn Hubbard. And come join us next Tuesday morning at 9 a.m. for the World According to Mark. And we'll see you then. Okay, and thanks for listening, folks.
Thanks, Brian.